Nightcast. Stephen Lloyd Gilbreth brings you the current news from the world today and how it relates to Bible prophecy. Understanding the end-time events leading to the peaceful world tomorrow. Ladies and gentlemen, Stephen Lloyd Gilbreth.
Good evening, friends, and welcome to this September 2nd, 2015, Wednesday night edition of Nightcast. Yes, we have the update tonight on the Kentucky Clerk Kim Davis, and who is refusing to issue marriage licenses to gay couples, and a salute to her. From our point of view, that's a very upright thing to do, a righteous thing to do. Stand up for God. Although the consequences in this world may be significant. Something for all to pray about, though. We'll have the update on that story later in tonight's program, near the end, so that by the time we're going off, that'll be a good point where you can be updated and be mindful and hit that subject in prayer tonight. That'd be a good thing to do. Now, our opening story tonight relates to the migrant crisis in Europe. Hundreds of migrants have set up camp at a major railway station in the Hungarian capital, Budapest, after police sealed off the terminal to stop them traveling through the EU. The EU is struggling to deal with an unprecedented influx of migrants, with thousands trying to escape war zones in the Middle East and poverty and turmoil in Africa. The BBC's Damian Grammaticus has this, our opening night report from Budapest.
No! Trying to round up refugees. Hungary's police today. It's the fate every refugee here fears, because it may mean an end to their hopes of asylum in Europe. Outside the train station, police began checking identity papers, trying to clear the area. Hungary rejected 99% of asylum claims last year. So no refugee wants to be processed here. More and more, though, keep arriving. The problem the Hungarian police have is that now they're enforcing the laws and not letting people through without a visa. Well, the numbers here are just growing, and the pressure and the tension is building.
We want to go to the Germany. We want to go to the Germany. Germany has no problem with us.
Germany is the destination they want because it said it will overlook normal asylum rules to take Syrians. Hungarians are helping the arrivals. They say the numbers are too big.
Germany said they have place for about 1 million people, so they aren't 1 million people here.
Do you think Hungary has enough place for these people?
I don't think so.
Seyfadin is from Kobane in Syria. His wife made it to Germany a year ago, and he last saw his daughter when she was 1 month old. His group will wait as many days as it takes to get through.
2, 3, 4, 5, 1 week. We're waiting. We have no solution. We have no enough money.
So the refugees, a couple of thousand strong, are camped round the station, while Europe gropes for a common approach. But Abu Ala Ayyub, who's from Damascus in Syria, says all he wants is somewhere safe. His mother lost one son in the chaos in Syria. Another is waiting for them in Germany.
I am angry. I am tired. What do you do? What do I do?
Hungary is under growing pressure to open the way and let the refugees through. But where in Europe will they find a haven? Damian Grammaticus, BBC News, Budapest.
Friends of the BBC's Hugh Edwards spoke to Ismail, an IT engineer from northern Syria who is camped at the station with his wife and their baby daughter. He said he fled Kobane to save his family.
I am from Syria, from Kobane.
From Kobane?
Yes, I'm Kurdish. Why did you leave Kobane? Is it very bad
I'm leave Kobane because in Kobane all killing ISIS in Kobane not safe. We can't save our children, our family, my wife. We leave Kobane because we want to make a new life for our family.
Where do you want to go to? Where do you want to live?
Germany or Norway.
Why do you choose Germany, for example? Why Germany?
Because in Germany we can save us family. We can make a new life for my daughter. I am well complete my study because I am engineering by information technology, communication.
The Hungarian government says there are too many people, that no more people can come.
I think nobody from Syria make trouble here. We far from Syria for save our family, for save ourselves. We just need to live here, to go. I am 5 days in Hungary. We need somebody. We need country save us. We need Europeans save us.
Okay, friends, there's something certainly we can be praying about as Christ instructed us to do in Luke 21:36, to watch the day's current news and to be praying from the bottom of our hearts about these things that affect people that we're seeing here in the news. Now, I mentioned in the opening, later in the program and very shortly now, we will have an update report on what's happening out of Kentucky, what's happening with the clerk there in Kentucky who issues the marriages licenses, who's refusing to issue the license to gay couples. Hooray for her. And we'll be giving you updates. And what's happening tomorrow morning. She's scheduled to be in a hearing tomorrow morning that you can be praying about tonight. We'll cover that in just a moment. First of all, though, I want to cover another story from today's news that relates to, let's see, how do we do that? I think I got to shift this thing. I got to switching banks, so I want to bring this chart up for you. And as I mentioned, this next story, it relates to the second seal from the book of Revelation. And it also relates to the fifth seal. It relates to the second seal because China is set to show off its military might in a lavish parade with an unprecedented scale of weaponry and military might and the number of troops. But the second seal in the book of Revelation is depicted by a red horse, and Jesus Christ described the meaning of this red horse in plain language in the Gospels, Matthew, Mark, and Luke, to be war and rumors of war and world war, nation against nation, kingdom against kingdom. And part of the story tonight from China will make reference to World War II. And this Lavish China parade you're going to see video on is to commemorate the World War II defeat of Japan. And the second seal relates to world war and the fact that, as God's apostle for the end time, Herbert W. Armstrong, was inspired to put it, we are between rounds of World War II and World War III, between round 2 and round 3 of World War. And when round 3 comes up, that will kick off the fifth seal, which is the next major event to happen in prophecy. And if you look over on the far right side of our chart, that column with the number 5 on it, and the guillotine at the top, and the words Great Tribulation, that represents the fifth seal from the book of Revelation. In plain language, Jesus Christ in Matthew 24 called the event of this seal the Great Tribulation. And last night I covered a little bit of detail and showed you a picture of the crown of the Holy Roman Empire, which when the Great Tribulation starts, it's a time that Jesus Christ described as a time of trouble so great that no time since the beginning of the world to this time, no nor ever after this time, shall be as bad as what's coming in this mega trouble time, this Great Tribulation. The time of Jacob's trouble. Jacob had 12 sons. one of whom was named Joseph, who received a double blessing. And he had two sons to whom his double blessings, were passed to, one being Ephraim, who today is the modern-day nation of the kingdom of the United Kingdom, and the other son, Manasseh, who today is the modern-day descendants living mostly in the United States. Now, China is set to showcase its military might in a lavish parade unprecedented in scale to mark the defeat of Japan in World War II. Some 12,000 troops and 200 aircraft, as well as tanks and missiles, will go on display in Tiananmen Square in Beijing. More than 80% of the machinery will be shown in public for the first time, state media said. China's growing military capabilities will be keenly watched amid tensions in the region. President Xi Jinping, who's also commander of the armed forces, will be center stage at the proceedings along with more than 30 foreign government officials and heads of state. The BBC, let me bring this chart forward for a moment for you here, friends. This shows a China and U.S. military comparison. You can see that China's budget is $129 billion compared to the United States with a $581 billion budget. Now, the total of the percent of gross domestic product for China, it's 2.1%. For the United States, it's 3.5%. Number of personnel, military comparison, China has 2,333,000 compared to the United States only having 1,433,150. And then the rest of this chart shows an equipment comparison. China showing thousands more tanks than the United States, 6,540 compared to 2,785. Fighter aircraft, the United States has more of those with 2,397, China 1,667, of which stealth fighters, the United States has 246, China has 6 prototypes. Heavy UAVs, the United States has 517, China has some. Submarines, the United States has 73, China has 69. Aircraft carriers, America has 10, China has 1. Destroyers, America has 62, China 17. ICBM launchers, the United States has 450, China has 66. That's a representable number, and you can bet your boots China intends on increasing this. The BBC's China editor, Carrie Gracie in Tiananmen Square, says the skies are perfectly blue rather than smoggy after factories were closed, barbecues banned, and cars stopped from traveling. There are no balloons or pigeons around the square in case they disrupt the fly past of military aircraft, she says. Russian President Vladimir Putin, South Korea's President Park Geun-hye, and controversially, UN Secretary General Ban Ki-moon will be the biggest names in attendance. Many major leaders, including from the U.S., UK, Australia, and Japan, have shunned the event. During a period of strained relations between China and Japan, as well as increasing military tension in the Asia-Pacific region, some leaders are reluctant to be associated with what they may view as a nationalistic, anti-Japanese mass rally, said Alexander Neal from the International Institute for Strategic Studies, IISS, in Singapore. And friends, the caption, or with this chart, here's a, well, actually, I'm ahead of myself. Now, Sia Hatton, BBC News, Beijing, says that for sale submarines, fighter jets, drones, China's victory parade is designed to be a grandiose demonstration of the country's military prowess. But it's also a useful opportunity for the Chinese military to showcase its wares. A few months ago, China surpassed Germany to become the world's third largest arms supplier, according to the Stockholm Peace Institute. That shows the intention to showcase the progress of China's arms industry, explains Matthew Ducatel, head of the China and Global Security Project with the Stockholm International Peace Research Institute. In terms of exports, it will indicate the move of China as a major arms importer to a major exporter. Arms sales from China have soared 150% in the past 5 years. For the first time, all of the armaments shown during the parade will be Chinese-made, with no Russian-made weapons on display. In April, the Chinese signed a deal to supply 8 new submarines to Pakistan, the most expensive arms deal in Chinese history. There's also a possible deal in the works to sell Chinese submarines to Thailand. The parade is not quite the same as an arms fair, but representatives from China's closest military allies will be on hand as China's latest weaponry streams past them. You know, China used to supply a lot of things to Walmart, and they've just devalued their dollar. They're going to try to make up for all that by selling arms stuff. Now, when they were big in selling stuff to Walmart that people could use to live and make their lives better and happier, you know, you could say, well, that was a good thing. You know, not going into arguments about the effect of trade between the countries and what it does to the money and all that. But in this thing with the big parade today, China's People's Liberation Army is the world's largest military with 2.3 million members, and it also has the second biggest defense budget after the U.S. In the build-up to the event, state media have been publishing commentaries that reinforce Chinese patriotism and views of historical events. Now, in this chart, you can see the top 15 defense budgets for 2014, the U.S. being right there on top, China right behind them. And I've got a little more information. I'm going to leave it on a screen for you to be able to look at while I tell you about this. Japan launched a full-scale invasion of China in 1937. And according to Beijing, 8 years of fighting claimed 14 million Chinese lives. China also claims that it is the forgotten ally and that its role in defeating Japan has been underplayed in the post-war narrative. Nationalist forces led the fight against Japan in China. They were defeated by Mao Zedong's communists who proclaimed a People's Republic in 1949. Okay, and that's it that I have on that story for you, friends. Now, I've got one short story before we update you on what's been happening in Kentucky. This huge steel jacket has been lowered into the North Sea. This video shows part of a huge oil platform, a substructure being placed into the North Sea for positioning on the seabed. At 134 meters high and with a footprint of 82 by 62 meters, the Statoil steel jacket weighs some 22,400 tons with its flotation tanks and rigging. The operation to install the Statoil steel jacket about 93 miles or 150 kilometers off the east coast of the Shetland Isles took place Sunday evening. Now, friends, that story out of Kentucky. We showed you video from yesterday's news where a Rowan County clerk, Kim Davis, continued to defy a Supreme Court ruling that she issue marriage licenses to gay couples. Yesterday, on Tuesday, Kim Davis said she was acting under God's authority when she refused to issue the licenses. I played this yesterday, but friends, this is so significant. Let's roll this video from yesterday's news again, and then I'll update you on what's happening tomorrow with Ms. Davis.
The order that you're supposed to issue marriage licenses.
And we're not issuing marriage
The
licenses
Supreme
today.
Court denied your stay.
We are not issuing marriage licenses today. So
Based on what?
I would ask you all to
Why are you not
go ahead
issuing
and
marriage licenses today?
Because I'm not.
Under
Why?
whose authority are you not
authority?
issuing
Under
licenses?
God's authority.
Lawyers tell you.
I don't
Did
believe
God
in your
tell you
God.
to do this? Did God
I
tell
don't
you
believe
to
in
treat
your God.
us
I don't
like
believe in your
this?
I've
God.
asked you all to leave. You are interrupting my
You can call the
business.
police if you want us to leave. You can call the police. I pay your salary. I pay your salary. I pay you to discriminate against me right now. That's what I'm paying for. That's what I'm paying for. I'm paying for this memory with my partner that I love, that I've been with for 17 years. What's the longest you've been with someone, that you've been married to someone?
I'm asking you to leave.
I'm not leaving.
Okay, you all
I'm asking you-
just
I'm not
push back
leaving.
away. You all are more
I'm
than
not
welcome to
leaving.
stay. Just
I
push
can't
back
help
away
that
from
the
the
president's
counter.
here.
No.
Just push back
We're
away
not
from the
leaving until
counter.
we have a license. We're not leaving
Then
until
you're
we
going
have
to
a
have a
license.
long
Do your
day.
job.
Well,
Today.
call the police. When they
your
come,
job.
I will ask them to arrest you.
Do your job.
Call the police! Call the police!
Okay, friends, we played, as I said, we played that for you last night. You could see how bold and audacious the same-sex couples are. And as I mentioned last night, reminds you of the biblical story of Sodom and Gomorrah. And in Sodom, Abraham's nephew Lot lived there with his wife and daughters. And the community, the people from the community got pretty bold and audacious. This reminds me of that story from the Bible, how audacious and bold the community got at the front door of Lot when they saw the two angels, which they saw only as two human men, not realizing they were angels. And they demanded to have those men that they could defile them and have sex with them. But the next day, God destroyed that city with raining brimstone, hail, fire down from the sky and destroyed Sodom and Gomorrah. And you know, that's what's going to happen to the United States, only God's going to allow our enemies in Europe to do it with modern nuclear missiles. Because God warns in Ezekiel 6, chapter 6, verse 6, that if we continue to disobey our Creator and go along with perverseness like this, even though the government of the United States, federal judges, have ruled that same-sex marriages are legal and that even marriage licenses for them have to be issued, they are doing that in contradiction to the higher law of God that says marriage is something He instituted to be between a man and a woman, and anything else is contrary to God's law. It is perverse, and God says those who participate in such things will not enter His kingdom. And in fact, unless they repent of it, they'll be thrown into a lake of fire. And in the meantime, God says in Ezekiel 6, verse 6, all of your cities, O Joseph, or Joseph's sons Ephraim in the UK and Manasseh in the United States and Canada, part of Ephraim, Canada, all of your cities will be laid waste. That could only be done in these modern days with modern nuclear missiles warheads powerful enough to blow up entire cities. And some of you will wake up and see that. Some of you won't wake up at all because many people will be killed when the cities are laid waste, those who live in the cities. So you can demand your rights for the moment, but if you don't repent of these things that are contrary to God's way, you're going to wind up in something worse than contempt of court. The lawyers for the couples have asked a federal judge to hold Miss Davis in contempt of court. The Supreme Court refused Monday to allow Davis' office to deny the licenses because of her religious beliefs. However, yesterday, the following day, Tuesday, she turned away at least 4 couples. Now, here is an update with some answers to key questions surrounding the case. Question: why hasn't Kim Davis been fired for refusing to issue marriage licenses and denying court orders? Answer: she is an elected official and can only be removed from office by impeachment. Question: how would she be impeached? Answer: the Kentucky House of Representatives would have to charge her with an impeachable offense, and the Senate would then try her. Question: is that likely? Answer: the Kentucky Equality Federation, a gay rights group, has called for Governor Steve Beshear to call a special session of the General Assembly to pursue impeachment. But Beshear, citing cost, has already declined to convene a special session to consider emergency legislation that would accommodate Davis and other clerks by having state governments issue marriage licenses. Also, bluegrass polls show most Kentucky voters oppose gay marriage. Way to go, Kentucky. And support accommodating Davis. Beshear declined to comment yesterday. Question: can Davis be charged with a crime? Answer: after being denied a license 4 times, a gay couple has asked the Rowan County attorney to charge her with official misconduct, a misdemeanor punishable by up to a year in jail. But citing a conflict of interest, he is defending the county in suits naming Davis. He referred the request to the Attorney General's office, which is deciding whether to appoint a special prosecutor. Question: what happens next? Answer: the 2 gay and straight couples who sued Davis have asked U.S. District Judge David Bunning to find her in contempt of court. A hearing is set for tomorrow morning, Thursday morning, in Ashland, Kentucky. Question: what punishment could she get for that? Answer: Bunning could jail or fine her, but the plaintiffs are seeking only monetary penalties, apparently to avoid engendering sympathy for her in jail. Bunning could order her to pay the fines out of her own pocket rather than with taxpayer money. Question: does Davis have any options left? Answer: she can still pursue her appeal in the 6th Circuit Court of Appeals, but her bids to delay compliance ran out Monday night when the Supreme Court denied her a stay. Question: could local officials try to remove her? Answer: Kentucky law allows a Commonwealth's attorney to indict county judges, executives, justices of the peace, sheriffs, coroners, surveyors, jailers, county attorneys, and constables for malfeasance in office or willful neglect in the discharge of official duties, for which they can be fined up to $1,000 and removed from office upon conviction. But for some reason, lost to history, the state doesn't include county clerks. How about that, folks? Give God thanks for that. I hope I hope all of you who are watching this program will not just look at this and say, well, we'll tune in tomorrow, see what happens. I hope you'll be on your knees saying, God, bless this woman who is willing to stand up for something morally right. And we'll be praying and asking for God to intervene on this. And of course, we need to mix into that, God, thy kingdom come. And you look at Sodom and Gomorrah, and things went such there that they were beyond turning that around there. And this country, thankfully, there are some good people in the state of Kentucky, the bluegrass state, most of whom are opposed to this lunatic gay marriage thing. And I say lunatic because it's contrary to God's law, a higher law than that of the federal judges in the United States. Now, I've got a few more questions here by those in the news who prepared these questions and answers from the state constitutions, and I'll give you the credits in a moment. Question: what are Davis grounds for refusing to comply with court orders? Answer: she says that to issue a marriage license to same-sex couples on which her name would be signed conflicts with God's definition of marriage and would violate her conscience. She says her religious liberty should be protected. Yes, amen. Under the Kentucky and United States Constitutions and the Kentucky Religious Freedom Act. And the sources, friends, are the Kentucky Constitution and the Kentucky Revised Statutes. Also, Louisville lawyer Cheryl Snyder and University of Kentucky law professors Allison Connolly and Scott Barries. Contributing were Mike Wynn from the Louisville, Kentucky Carrier Journal. And friends, to close tonight, I want to go back to a video that relates to the migrant crisis over in Europe, because I'm sure some of you will be stirred up and can pray about and pray for it. This brave woman who makes a stand for God's right way, Kim Davis in Kentucky, in Rowan County, Kentucky. I'm sure you'll remember that and pitch some prayers before God for that. You can also be praying for the migrants and the suffering they're going through and the conflict that causes in Europe that may trigger off Europe uniting and coming more quickly to the way it's going to be organized, with 5 leaders from the west, 5 kings from the east, that give their power to what the Bible calls a beast that will resurrect, revive the now dormant Holy Roman Empire for its 7th and final restoration. And then that crown from the Holy Roman Empire that's now on display in the Royal Treasury in Vienna, Austria, will be worn again for its last time. That big old gawky crown. I've shown that to you many a time. We got it on a wall behind us over here. But let's go now to that story about the migrants who have arrived in Germany after traveling through Europe. They're wanting to be processed at reception centers in Germany. The BBC's Jenny Hill spoke to a Syrian family at a center in Bavaria who have traveled through 5 countries to flee civil war.
What was your journey here like, especially with you being pregnant and a little boy?
كان في صعوبة ولا
صعوبة كثير.
Very hard. Very hard. 5 countries walked.
You walked all the way here?
Yeah. Also with the baby and bringing you, it's very, very hard. Like I said, all people here came with plan except Syrian.
What are your hopes for the future here? Do you want to stay in Germany?
Yes,
How welcome do you feel here in Germany?
very good.
I'm sorry, it's upsetting you, I think.
No. About the country,
You all had good lives there before the war.
very good. Better than here. Everybody has work and he can go anywhere he wants. After the war, we can't do anything.
How do you have hope for the future?
We wish if we have a good vision for that.
What is your dream?
Here or when we go back?
Either. Just your dream. What do you dream of?
To make anything good here until we go back to our country to start a new life.
Friends, that's it for this Wednesday night report here on Nightcast. God willing, and the creek don't rise, we'll be back again tomorrow night, Thursday night, with the day's current news related to the Bible and prophecy. Hope you'll remember tonight to be praying for Rowan County, Kentucky Clerk Kim Davis and her stand against same-sex marriages in Kentucky. And also be praying for these people who are suffering from war and trying to get out of war-torn countries and causing Europe a certain amount of problem and struggling and suffering in the process. Those people walked through 5 countries to get over to Germany, and just be praying thy kingdom come, the whole thing come together that has to happen before Christ returns. Friends, until next time, this is your host, Stephen Lloyd Gilbreth, and I'm going to say so long and good night.
You have been watching Nightcast with Stephen Lloyd Gilbreth. Nightcast can be seen Sunday through Thursday nights here on cogtv.org. Tonight's program is also available anytime on demand in the cogtv.org video archive.